This is my Father's world, and to my listening ears all nature sings, and around me rings the music of the spheres. This is my Father's world. I rest me in the thought of rocks and trees, of skies and seas, His hand the wonders wrought. This is my Father's world. The birds their carols raise, the morning light, the lily white, declares their Maker's praise. This is my Father's world. He shines in all that's fair. In the rustling grass I hear Him pass. He speaks to me everywhere. This is my Father's world. Oh, let me ne'er forget that though the wrong seems oft so strong, God is the ruler yet. This is my Father's world. Why should my heart be sad? The Lord is King, let the heavens ring. God reigns, let the earth be glad. The Lord is King, let the heavens ring. God reigns, let the earth be glad.
Hey there, One House family. I'm Sarah Grover. I'm your host again this evening. Welcome back to the Living Room series. I hope you've been enjoying it. It has been amazing. We've had great praise, we've had great speakers, and a fun time Q&Aing with all of them. And tonight we still are continuing on in our awesomeness. So please continue to stay tuned. This evening we have great speakers, but before I introduce them, I want to share a couple things with you. Don't forget, if you're a prize winner, you have to click on that survey link that we post at the end of the program so that you can give us your address so we send you our prizes, because we love to give away prizes. We want you to have our stuff and our awesome merch here, but we need to have your address to do that. So please be sure to click on that survey with the link that pops up at the end. And we do have some prizes tonight, so please stay tuned, like and share, otherwise we don't know if you're there. Hey, that rhymed, that was awesome. Anyways, don't forget tomorrow night we have a great Friday night program. It's going to have music, art, worship, and it's going to be amazing. You don't want to miss it. Tell your friends. They have nothing else to do tomorrow night. This is the best thing that they could do tomorrow night. So maybe even do a watch party if you want. Also on Saturday afternoon at noon, we have a special Saturday worship segment. And Pastor Sam Lenore is our speaker. We're going to have a great music time, and there's also a panel at the end. So please be sure to tune in Saturday at noon. If you miss videos from this week, and you might miss those that are coming up, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page. You'll be able to see, all the praises, all the workshops, all the speakers, and even our tea times that we have on Tuesday. So please subscribe to our YouTube page. You won't regret it. The last thing is to register on our website. You'll be able to get our newsletter for upcoming events right away. Once we have them, you'll know about them. So please be sure to check out our One House website as well. Now, our workshop speaker tonight is Orville Ortiz. And Orville was born in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and he moved to Florida after graduating from high school. He has a bachelor's degree in management and a completed MBA in 2006. He is now currently the treasurer of Southern California Conference, and he has been since 2016. He loves baseball. Just so you know, his favorite team is the Dodgers, and that's Orville. So be sure to tune in. He'll be sharing with us in just a moment. But first, we have our devotional speaker, who is Fernando Rossi. And Fernando was born in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and he was a naturalized American in California. He worked as a church pastor in Michigan before coming to Newbury Park, and he absolutely loves enjoying doing ministry with teens, and he has been doing that at Newbury Park since 15 years ago. So Fernando, I want to pass it over to you.
Hello everyone, my name is Fernando Rossi, and it's a pleasure to share a little message with you, some thoughts that were going around my head these days. I'm from Argentina originally, and if you know any Argentinian, we have a great identity crisis. I don't know if all the Argentinians would agree with me. If you're from any Latin American country, if you speak Spanish, you know, every time we get someone to know that you're with Argentinians, they start laughing. They say like, oh, you guys are special. You think that you are better than everyone else. I don't, but I don't know why we came across that way, but we do have an identity crisis, I think. When it comes to our accent, the way that we speak, you can tell I have an accent in English, but the problem is that we have an accent also in Spanish. The worst thing is, or at least it happened to me a couple of years ago, I went back to Argentina and I started talking to people, and they started asking me where I was from. They were asking, I can't tell where your accent is from. And it broke my heart, because then I was from nowhere. Here, people know that I'm not from here. When I go there, people think that I'm not from there. Horrible identity crisis. We have our identity many times based on our name, the names our parents gave us, the names sometimes that we changed when we chose. A family, super interesting family, they call Maisley. I thought it was Mazele, but no, it's Maisley, because they are a blended multicultural family with Black and Korean heritage. And they're amazing not only because of the multicultural realities that they have at home, but also because they wait 8 months to name their baby. I guess it's because they wanted to know who the baby was and not give him a name right away, or give her a name right away. But it's really interesting because they put a lot of different names. They're super beautiful. And then they allow the kid or the baby to play a game and to pick the name she wanted. And I was thinking, what would I name myself, or what name would I pick if I had the opportunity to do that? I always thought that my name came from a song from ABBA. If you know ABBA, there's a song in Fernando, and I like it because it's called Fernando. I just found out that ABBA's song Fernando came or was released 4 years after I was born. I was thinking, what name would I get if I had the opportunity? And in the Bible, you find Jesus naming people, giving them a different name, giving them a new identity, giving them a new way of calling themselves and seeing themselves. When he saw Peter, he was Simon, and then he said, you are Simon, but now you're going to be called Cephas, or Peter. Totally new names, and you see it all the time. The new thing that God gives us, this new reality, new identity, the new way of seeing ourselves, the way that he sees us. And it's this new opportunity that's starting over that I found so appealing and so amazing. Lamentations chapter 3, verses 22 and 23, and we know it very well. And it says, because of the Lord's great love, we're not consumed, for his compassions never fail. They're new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. From the Message, it says, God's loyal love could not have run out. His merciful love could not have dried up. They're created new every morning. How great is your faithfulness. I'm sticking with you, God. I say it over and over. He's all I've got left. If God's love and mercy is new every morning, the way that he sees me every morning, it's a new way. It's a refreshed way. That identity is a refreshed identity. I can see myself through God's eyes in a new way every day. And I know that you cannot change your name every day, but why not? I can name myself, I can call myself a different thing, a different way each day. Because of the global pandemic, life and the gift of life has taken a totally different meaning. And We need to accept it and enjoy this gift of life that we received every single day. So my challenge for you today is, what name will you choose for you today? What new name will you choose for you today? Will you call yourself strong? Will you call yourself a believer? A lover? Will you call yourself patient? Will you call yourself healthy? Protector? What name will you accept, or what name will you receive from God today? That identity, the new way that God wants to see you. Let me pray with you. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this opportunity we have every single day to start a new day, to start a new ourselves through your eyes. Help us, Lord, to accept that gift today and to enjoy it and to live in your new mercies. And thank you, Lord, for all the opportunities we have with you every single day when we start anew with you. Thank you for your forgiveness and thank you for your love. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
What lies at the wake of a crisis? It's unknown. The unknown can be an enemy of transparency, but it can also mean mystery. Mystery can breed curiosity, and curiosity may bloom into revelation. Revelation in the arms of the gospel that radiates hope. And hope brings joy.
Good evening, friends, and welcome to the living room session for the One House. And tonight we are going to be talking about an important subject of 5 things that we can do to help our family budget, or our budgets, a family of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, during a COVID-19 pandemic or any type of emergency situation. Before I get started, what I like to do is be able to share with you a couple of Bible texts that I think make reference to the importance of us being able to manage our budgets. One is found in Proverbs 27, 23 through 24. Be sure you know the condition of your flocks. Give careful attention to your herds. For riches do not endure forever, and a crown is not secure for all generations. So this, of course, telling us we take stock, account, inventory of what we have, because those are the things that will provide for the household. And then the second text that I'd like to share with you is found in Luke chapter 14, verses 28 through 30. And it says the following there. Suppose one of you wants to build a tower. Won't you first sit down and estimate the cost to see if you have enough money to complete it? For if you lay the foundation and are not able to finish it, everyone who sees it will ridicule you, saying, this person began to build and wasn't able to finish. So I call the budget of the family, that is our blueprint or our tower that we're trying to build. So it's going to be important that we know exactly what we have on hand to be able to make the correct decisions. So most of the information that I will be sharing with you tonight, I did a little bit of research plus my own experience, but I found one article that I really enjoyed on this specific subject where I extracted most of the information, and that is found in Forbes.com website, Forbes Advisor, and the title of the article is Retooling Your Budget for COVID-19, 5 Smart Steps to Take Now, and it was written by Rebecca Lake. So as we look at the situation of the pandemic, in the United States, there was a record 3.3 million of Americans who filed for unemployment as restaurants, retailers, other businesses shut down and the stay-at-home orders began as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. It was estimated that 49% of Americans were living paycheck to paycheck even before the pandemic, meaning that they have little or no savings to be able to deal with an emergency. And you can only imagine that this number of people is only going to increase as the pandemic has continued, through the month of March, April, and now into May. Also, the government, in an effort to assist individuals through this process, passed the economic stimulus package under the CARES Act that was designed to put cash into the hands of Americans so that the economy could be revived, at least on a short-term basis. So it's going to be important that we make what we call an emergency budget as we experience this financial crisis that we are going through right now. And people have experienced either job losses, job layoffs, or furloughs. So it's not the most ideal situation that we have to start on a budget if we haven't, but it's the place where we are. So I would really recommend, very critical for you to go and review your family budget. And I'm going to give you some tips tonight, 5 things specifically that you can do to assist in that process in order for you to be able to budget your money wisely through this perilous time that we are facing. The first thing that you can do, which is probably the most simplistic, most simple item that most people can engage in, is to take an inventory of your income and your assets. When you are typically working on a budget, there are 2 things that you can do. One is the categorize or account for the money that you're spending. The other one is to account for your income. So probably at this point, more than likely your income already has been reduced through job loss, furloughs, or complete unemployment. So it is important, of course, during this time that you have less income into your household, that you are not spending at the same rate. So it's going to be very important that we are able to sit down and understand, number one, the baseline of our income, and then compare to the expenditures that we have to see how they match. So for example, if you have experienced a 30% cut on your pay, that means that we must do a 30% cut on our spending. And this, as I say this is assuming that before the pandemic, you were already, spending what you were receiving, and you were not spending more through the use of credit cards or debt. Clearly, if you have been spending more than the income that you were receiving prior to the pandemic, more than likely you were then creating debt. So now if you're trying to bring your expenses in line with the income that you have, that means that you would have to make a deeper cut in your expenses than just 30% if you had a 30% reduction on your income. Another thing that you can do to count for your income is that in case you didn't know or you had not taken advantage of that, a lot of the different states, I know here in California and the federal government, have expanded unemployment benefits that you might be entitled to through the supplemental packages of the CARES Act or the stimulus package that was done here in the United States. So you may want to check with your state specifically, and here in California, and check to see if you are eligible to receive unemployment benefits so that you can have or add additional income to the one that you already have at the moment. And in some cases you might be able to receive up to $600 a week through that process of applying for unemployment. And also the length of time can be anywhere between 26 to 39 weeks because of the expanded benefit because of the COVID-19. So make sure that you check into that with the state agencies. Also, you may want to take a look at any of your savings that you may have available, emergency fund that you might be able to tap into to do so, even if it's a small amount, $100, $200, $300, $400, $500 or $1,000. The second step that is going to be very important is going to be to categorize your budget expenses. This is probably one of the most critical aspects of budgeting. This is what I call every dollar has a name. So there should not be any dollar that you're spending that it doesn't have a name to something specific that you are needing to spend money on. So this will help you understand in what areas you are specifically spending your money. So these categories should have be ordered by importance, as well as either fixed or variable or irregular expenses. So for example, fixed expenses just means expenses that you're having on a monthly basis. Examples of those are housing, utilities, food, insurance. It may not always be the same amount that you're spending, but it's regular, it's fixed in the context that you're having to have this expense every month. You may be able to add to this list, or may need to add to this list, debt payments if you have them, because it's going to be very important that you maintain your good credit even through this process of the COVID-19 pandemic. In addition to that, you also may need to include in this area, if you have them, student loans, credit card debt, automobile loan perhaps for your transportation. Then the second list is going to be the variable expenses, and some of these also can fall in the category of discretionary spending, meaning that you can decide whether you want to spend money on this or not in some cases. And examples of that are going to be clothing, hobbies and entertainment, personal care or self-care, recreation, dining out, shopping, also doing, for the ladies, doing your nails, hair coloring, different things like these that you may do on a discretionary basis. There's another category. And then you also may want to consider a third list of irregular expenses, and some of those are, for example, the auto insurance. Some people, although some people may have them on a monthly basis, some people, for example, pay them only once a year or every 6 months. I personally pay my auto insurance on an annual basis. So what I do is that in the budgeting process, let's say, for example, to make the example easy, let's say that the cost of the annual insurance is $1,200. So that means that on a monthly basis, you would set aside $100. Even though you're not spending it, you have it set aside so that when the bill comes due, you're ready to pay it. In this article, they suggest that you can divide in 3 categories of must-haves, need-to-haves, and nice-to-haves. And that means, of course, the nice-to-haves, you're probably going to be saying bye-bye, and we're going to be talking about that right now. Item number 3 would be to eliminate or reduce what we call the nice-to-haves, the discretionary spending. So since we are now in emergency management mode, disaster management mode, we're going to have to prioritize our expenses. We're going to have to decide, do we want to pay the mortgage? Do we want to pay the rent? Do we want to keep the electricity? Or do we want to have nice clothes? Or do we want to have a meal out? So that means we're going to have to make some choices here. So probably more than likely, these are things that you can cut out of your budget. Definitely you can cut out dining out. You can cut out entertainment. You can cut out purchasing clothes, additional clothes or newer clothes. You can also cut out travel. You can cut out extracurricular things for even children or yourself. You can cut out electronics or gadgets. You can cut out gym memberships and any other unnecessary subscription that would prevent you from being able to meet your rent, utilities, food on the table. These things are now not as important. Now, I can tell you that as you go through this process, it's going to be painful and it's going to feel, you're going to experience some form of detachment from these items. Or perhaps you may experience some psychological tough time by knowing that you may have to wear the clothes from last season as opposed to brand new clothes for the season now, the spring season or the summer season, instead of recycling the clothes that you wore last year. So it depends on your preferences, but you may experience a little bit of pain, but at the end it will be helpful to you to experience this pain and be able to, of course, meet your expenses and manage your money through the pandemic. It also may be that because of the stay-at-home order, it may not be so difficult to part with some of these expenses. But in any case, it's a choice that you have to make. I know for me, for example, in my past, I used to have a subscription to satellite TV, and then eventually I learned that I didn't need it, so I canceled. I also used to like to subscribe to the NFL package. I love football, the NFL Sunday. Of course, right now with the pandemic, who knows if we're going to have that or not, but I eliminated that in my particular scenario. And in the past, I've done that in order to be able to manage my budget and meet some of the needs that I have for the family. Another thing that you may be able to do that you can eliminate from your budget are also going to be things like mowing the lawn. So maybe, for example, right now you're paying someone else to come mow your lawn. Maybe now you start cutting it yourself so that you can save some dollars in order to maintain your family budget. Something else that you might be able to cut out, maybe you learned already because of the stay-at-home order, since you couldn't go out to the barber shop or the beauty salon, is to cut your own hair. And here, for example, this haircut, that magnificent haircut that you see, was something that I had to learn a new skill during the pandemic. And after going through this process of cutting my own hair, I have decided that probably I will not return to the barbershop because I can do this and doesn't look that bad. You know, if I cut it short enough, looks okay, and I'm still presentable. So if you feel that you can manage that way, that's another area where you can cut your budget on a temporary basis until you recover economically and are able to maybe return to having a professional doing it for you. So you can look at different things like that you might be able to handle, and that way you save money and keep it in your pockets in order to be able to match the income that you are receiving currently. So the idea at the end of the day is to be able to perform some form of what I call financial cosmetic surgery. You're gonna be trimming the fat of your budget, and you are gonna try to focus only on your essentials. Number 4, which may sound kind of interesting, is visit the items that are on your essential spending list. This is gonna be critical because perhaps you have gone through this process of cutting items out of your budget, but you have not gained enough ground to be able to still meet those essential expenses. So one of the things that you can do as you take a second look at your list, for most people, the biggest expense is housing. So if you are a homeowner, you might be able to go to the government. Part of the stimulus package is to help homeowners that have federally backed mortgage loans, also referred to as Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac for your investors, you know, or VA loans sometimes. Or Ginnie Mae. There's some private investors. You might not be able to secure some of that financing or assistance, but if you have some of these loans or FHA loans, you might be able to secure some part of the programs that might help you with your mortgage payment. Also, you know, it may be that you don't have one of these programs, you are not able to obtain federal funding, and you are still going to be falling behind on your payment. So it's going to be critical in that process that you definitely call your lender. I used to work in the mortgage banking business, and many times if you call the lender understanding these issues that we're facing right now, might be able to work with you so that you can have either a reduced mortgage payment or deferred on your payments so you can pick up the payments later when your income comes up. Of course, doesn't mean that your payment will be forgiven or waived, but you will have an opportunity to, you know, ease the burden for the moment and then be able to continue your payments at a later time. Also, something else that you might be able to do if you're a homeowner is that you can refinance. You know, right now the interest rates on mortgage loans has gone down significantly. So you might be able to look at your current mortgage payment. You can call your bank and see if you are eligible for a refinance at a lower interest rate, and a lower interest rate may also reduce your payments. One of the things to consider if you are looking at a refinance is that you try to obtain a loan that would have no closing costs. If the loan has closing costs, you can still do a comparison to make sure that you still come out ahead even with the closing costs after refinancing. But ideally, if you can do it without closing costs, that will put you in the best position for the future in the refinancing of the home. You want to avoid is to take out a home equity loan. Why? Because a home equity loan, you know, you're borrowing against a potential equity that you have right now. But if the market values of the properties go down, then the portion now that you borrowed against, you know, you're gonna be what is called upside down, because the value of your home no longer supports the equity loan that you had, and you will not be able to sell the house and be able to pay the existing mortgage plus the equity loan that you have taken out. Something else to consider during this time, if you are not a homeowner, let's say you're paying rent, then there are provisions currently. The people who own the properties cannot evict you from your property. There's a moratorium on evictions, but it's going to be important that you still talk to your landlord and are able to work out some form of payment arrangement during this time, so that way you can manage your finances through this difficult time. Same with the utility companies. Right now also there are moratoriums where the utility companies will not disconnect your electricity, your water, your gas, etc. But if you cannot make the payments in full, then make sure that you talk to them and are able to work out some form of payment arrangement. So that way, after the pandemic is over, they don't come out and end up disconnecting your utilities, or in the case of rent, that you don't end up being evicted. Something else to consider is that if you have credit cards, that you also contact, the credit card holders to be able to make payment arrangements during that time. There are also federal student loan program for you to be able to either have a reduction of payment for a period of time or a deferral on your payments, so that while you are recovering economically, you don't have to make these payments. So these are things that you can consider again. If you have a private student loan, that might not be eligible for the federal program, but the lender again might be able to work with you to assist you in having a reduced payment or deferred payment during the time. Back to the credit cards I mentioned briefly in passing. With the credit cards, the important part there, the reason why to talk to them or any of your lenders or service providers, is to avoid not only a disconnection but also to avoid late charges or even additional interest. In the cases of a credit card, you might be able to request a temporary reduction on your interest rate. So you want to get on the phone and deal with all these issues again, so you can have either reduced payments or reduced interest rates, or no payments for a period of time without any penalty. That's a key factor here, because if they charge you penalty like late fees and so forth and so on, then you basically are only increasing your balance into the future. The last item that we can talk about is to spend strategically to save money. What I mean by that is that as you're cutting back on your expenses, there might be a number of applications that you can utilize for the things that you're already spending money on that have cash back. And some people may couple that also with, maybe they have a credit card that they use that has a cash reward, 1%, 2%, 5%, depending on your purchases. I personally, for example, have used two apps that I'm familiar with. I'm sure there's more out there. One is called Fetch Rewards and another one is called Rakuten. And these two apps, for example, when you link through them to the site that you want to purchase from, whether it's Amazon or a grocery store or any other vendor like JCPenney, Target, etc., when you buy items from them, they give you additional points aside from the rewards that you might be getting on your credit card. Remember, only as long as you can pay that credit card in full every time. So for example, in my case, by scanning receipts or using that particular connection, I have been able to obtain $25 Amazon cards that then I have been able to use to obtain other items that I have needed. So you get the idea. The concept is that you try to use all of these things to be able to have more cash come back or flow back towards you. But again, be careful if you're going to be using a credit card for these essential purchases that you're making, so that you don't end up building debt and basically the cash back that you would have received would be eaten up in additional interest rates or late fees or things like of that nature. Long story short, make sure that you spend some time looking at your budget. If you haven't done that, don't be intimidated. Just start simple. Look about, again, how much money you are receiving, how much money you are spending, and then from there you can flow. As a matter of review, let's again pass through the 5 items again. Number 1, start with your income and your assets. So remember, look and see how much money you're receiving. And when we're talking about assets, it's either things that you already have saved or things that you might even be able to sell to be able to bring income into your family, to be able to cover your expenses. Number 2, remember again, categorize your budget expenses. I say make sure that every dollar has a name. That's going to be very important. Number 3, eliminate or reduce the nice to haves. Remember those things that are discretionary, that are not going to be hurting you by cutting them out. Make sure that you are able to cut these things out of your budget. Number 4, revisit your essential spending. So make sure that you see the opportunities that you have available to when you're not able to meet your expenses anymore, even if you have cut out. So again, go back and deal with your landlords, deal with your lenders, deal with the credit card companies, and they will be able to assist you, in this process of managing your cash by not having extra expenses by late fees or additional charges on your account. And then the last item, again, number 5, spend strategically to save money. So bank utilization, of apps that may give you cash rewards as you spend, so that way you have additional income coming your way. So thank you for listening tonight. I hope that these tips will assist you in your daily lives as you manage your budget, and may God bless you as you continue surviving, I'm going to use that phrase, this particular time. And the last thought that I want to leave you with is from the Sermon on the Mount, from Matthew chapter 6, where God says, "Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. And I know that the Lord will watch over you, take care of you during this time, and just be mindful, be a good steward of the resources that you have available in your hand." And may God bless you, friends.
One, you are live.
Hello, One House family. We are here with the amazing Orville Ortiz. Orville, is this what you swim in every day?
Yes, I'm swimming in the $100 behind me. Check that out.
Ladies and gentlemen, he just found that background 2 seconds before we went live, just for you. You're welcome.
Literally. We're having too much fun with the backgrounds here.
Well, my favorite was the Puerto Rican flag, because I'm a fellow Puerto Rican, I'm a third generation, so I'm not as close as you are, but
Let's flash that for a minute, just so we can put it in there.
Yes!
And then we'll go back to the money, since it's a subject at hand. Or maybe a living room, right? Since it's living room sessions, one of these.
There we go. Now we look more professional.
Yeah. The professional one. Let's do that one.
I just keep hearing money songs in my head every time I see that background. So I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't able to watch the whole video because I was actually talking to him behind the screen. But I know these kind of videos are something where I have to pause and write down and then play and then listen and then pause and then write down again. It's so much information. So we do have a few questions that I want to ask you, and then later on maybe you can give us some more resources that we could look to help us with our budgeting, and
absolutely,
maybe even like a self-help club for those of us who need to cut our credit cards. I don't know. But we'll have like a session of cutting cards.
Plastic.
Yeah, I think Dave Ramsey is one of those guys who's like, cut those cards. Okay, so let's start with the first question. In the current climate, if I have been put on furlough, should I try to start looking for another job, or maybe even try for unemployment?
Yeah, I think that that question is a very important one, particularly because right now there are a lot of programs for unemployment that you can have. So I would say, if you talk to your employer that put you on furlough, so that you can understand the capacity of that employer to potentially bring you back if the economy rebounds. They might tell you, who knows, they might say, no, we're not looking at you until 6 or 7 months from now. So they already may have an idea. So knowing that, I would say there are programs that were specifically created for the pandemic so that you can go file for unemployment. And then, while you're receiving the unemployment, you might still go out and look for a job. And at least you have a form of income while you're waiting. But the unemployment application you should do whether your employer will take you back or not. So you can always do that. So you have income flowing through your household, and then talk to your employer, and also talk to, and then also look for a job if your employer tells you that there's no prospects of you coming back soon enough.
Okay. So it's good to be proactive and go for both.
Correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's what I would say.
What is some advice if I'm having a hard time already spending my money just on essentials?
Yeah, that's one of the things that we talked about in the video. That once you have cut out these non-essentials, but then you're still back down to your essentials, your rent, your food, your utilities, and somehow you're still not able to make it. I would say, again, look for unemployment if that's the issue, unemployment benefit. Because obviously, if you are not able to meet all those needs, that's because you probably lost income. So look for the unemployment. And secondarily, then also talk to your landlord. We mentioned that in the video. Talk to your landlord about saying, hey, you know what? Right now I cannot make my full rent because I was furloughed from my job. I have reduced hours. But maybe you can negotiate with your landlord a temporary lower payment. Of course, that doesn't mean that they're going to forgive you the difference, but you can buy some time. So you can say, maybe I'll just pay this much rent, with agreement. Mortgage companies right now are also doing the same. If it's an issue of mortgage payment, you can call the mortgage company. You can explain your situation. They might be able to have some type of plan that reduces your payment for a period of time. And then when you bounce back, you're able to then repay the amounts that you were paying lower. Also, you can talk to your utility companies. I've heard that some utility companies are also doing the same. They're trying not to cut off your services, so you're able to maybe talk to them and say, hey, I cannot pay the $300 of my light, water, trash bill, or maybe I can send a payment of $200. So as long as you're making some type of effort during that time, I think that will help you through that process. And then later when you bounce back, or if you receive unemployment benefit, maybe you make up some of those things that you were paying a smaller amount on.
So we're really hoping that people are gracious, and most people are at this time.
Correct. I believe that the government has been. I know that I've been reading. Banks have been. Service providers have been. So now, if you're renting from an individual landlord, it's a matter of maybe talking to your individual landlord. But most people, I think, at this time understand the issues that the economy has, and also there are provisions right now in the law that somebody cannot be evicted from their home. So, in that situation, the landlord's going to say, well, either I take no payment or I take something, while we're waiting for this person to rebound, because I cannot evict you anyways. So I think it's going to be the best situation to talk to the people that you have to deal with financially.
Yeah, and say a prayer before you do.
Yes, and not because not communicating is not going to help. If you don't communicate, people don't know that you're experiencing these issues. They're going to think that everything is fine with you. So I think it's good to just simply pick up the phone or knock on the door, whichever it is that you need to do to make sure that you're communicating the specific issues that you're having.
No hiding.
Correct. Definitely no hiding. Yeah, that's the worst thing that you can do under any circumstance, pandemic or no pandemic.
Well, the next question I think you answered. There's a person that said, I've heard some companies like insurance or phone companies will lower your bill for the time of COVID.
Yeah, and then also including credit card companies may even lower your interest rate. So you might be able to call your credit card company if you have credit card debt, and then explain to your situation, say, can you lower my interest rate for a short period of time? They might be able to do so. Every company is different, so I don't know what policies each company has, so you may have to talk to them about the specific things that might be available to you that they have made provision for the pandemic.
So do you think, I think this is speculation right now, but in your opinion, do you think there will be a second stimulus check?
It's hard to tell. There's a lot of talk about it. I know that I heard a lot about this on the Senate and the House of Representatives, that they would like to push something through. I think that this is with my take, that if the economy is still not bouncing back fast enough, there could be a potential that they might do that as a second stimulus. But maybe if things start going back to normal or things start picking up rather quickly, much than anticipated, maybe they delay or hold that back. But it's hard to tell. I think it's going to depend on how they see the economy functioning after the reopening. As you know, right now, there's a lot of reopening that's happening in different states, including California. So that will depend on that. They also did the Paycheck Protection Program. The purpose of that was also the same, was the idea to keep income flowing through the economy by having people not lose their pay. If the employer borrowed and then used that money to continue the paychecks of those people. So all of those factors would be into play in that situation.
Sounds complicated. I'm glad I'm not in charge. Well, some people are wondering, and I mean, I even got a stimulus check, and if I get money and I don't need to use it right away, I put it in my savings. And so, but we also want our economy to flourish. So would you recommend people who got a stimulus check to save it or to use it? Or, I mean, I know you can't really say use your money, but You
Yeah,
know,
I think it depends on your situation. Yeah, for example, here we started a program, as you know, to try to help people that did not have income, for COVID-19. So, for example, if you got the stimulus check and you're a person that maybe you didn't lose your income, maybe you didn't lose employment, your income was all the same, maybe you take that money and you consider donating it to a program for people who need assistance. That's something that's very worthwhile to do during this economy, this situation. Now if you yourself need the money and you need to pay that rent or pay the utilities or whatever it is, then use it for that. So that way later you don't have to come back and try to figure out how to make it up. So don't buy a PlayStation with that. You just or a Nintendo or whatever it is that you feel like you want to do. Use it for that purpose to meet the needs of the family. So I would say either the needs or help somebody else with it if you don't need it.
yeah. I think it's hard. I was reading some of the comments during the video, and people were saying, I needed this before COVID. I needed this information before. So I think people do have a hard time when you see a lot of money. Oh, there's so much I can do with this money. And then it's gone instantly. And you're like, I just bought a boat. Why do I need a boat? I don't have water near me. But, so you got to be careful.
Yeah, well, it's very challenging to do. Like, one of the things that we talked about in the video was that you have this issue of the must-haves, the nice to haves, and etc. So usually most of us like to function, in the need to haves. That's a space that all of us, participate in. It's like, oh, it's nice to have this, it's nice to have that. And the concept of, in the old days, our grandparents or great grandparents, depending what generation you're from, those people usually did not incur debt. What they used to do is they would work until they had enough money saved, and then they would go buy it. And then in our generation now, our current generations, we like everything quick and we like it now. So if we see something at the store that we like, we just get it, we put it on a credit card, whether it's Macy's store card or whether it's Visa or MasterCard, whatever it is, we just say, oh, I'll just charge it, I'll pay for it later when I get my paycheck. So that's just the way we function. So you basically have to break the habit. If I would say something that I didn't say in the video, is you need to break the habit of trying to put everything on a charge card. And then count your pennies. I mentioned the concept of every dollar has a name. So if you basically say this dollar is called groceries, this dollar is called, car gas, this dollar is called.
I was calling it like Sam, George.
No, not like that. Yeah, not the president's names. What I mean is, something that you're using the money for. That's what I mean when I say every dollar has a name. So, utilities, rent, car gas, whatever. And then you basically use it that way. And the concept would be, because we don't have an unlimited amount of money, right? You have this limited amount of money that you receive. So the question becomes this. So let's say that you plan that you're going to spend, I don't know, $50 on eating out, just for the sake of argument. So, that's what I call entertainment. That's an entertainment dollar. So eating out is entertainment. That's not groceries. Groceries you buy, at Ralph's or Walmart or whatever. So let's say that you, instead of spending 50, in your entertainment, you decided to spend 100. Well, where is the other 50 going to come from? That means that you have to take that other 50, maybe from buying nail polish, or maybe from, hair coloring or something, whatever. So you have to move that concept keeps you in line, because hey, if I budgeted this much and I spend extra, the money that I need to make up has to come from somewhere else. That's basically the concept on that.
And I remember I did a Dave Ramsey Financial Peace University, and he was talking about using actual cash, because you feel it when you have a credit card. It's just like this thing, it's magical. And
yeah. The closest concept that I would say that I have seen come to the cash concept, there's a program that I personally use online to manage my money, that is called envelopes. It's like an electronic, envelope system. So when I get my paycheck, for example, I have every one of my dollars goes into one of these electronic envelopes, as if I had an actual physical envelope in my hand. So when I go spend, I pull it out of the envelope to spend it. So, I have one envelope that is called tithe, one envelope that is called offering, one envelope that is called, house rent, one envelope that is called, car payment, whatever it is. So it goes in there and then it comes out, and then I have one for my entertainment. So when the entertainment is getting down to zero, I do not spend any more money. So you basically have to develop this kind of discipline.
All right, y'all, write this down. What's it called? Envelopes.
Yeah, it's like envelopes.
Okay.
So the letter N, instead of N.
Do it, guys.
Yeah, envelopes. And then that can be a substitute for. And then also there's an app for that, so I have it on my phone. So for example, if I'm buying at the store, I can immediately say, "Oh, I spend this money just right now," while I'm buying at the store. So it's very handy, very convenient. And then I can open it up and I can see how much balances I have in each of my envelopes. So you basically get ahead of your expenses. So most people function behind. So I have money in the envelope before I actually have to go spend it. Also for vacations, so I have one envelope called vacation. So every month I put money aside to use later when I plan to go on vacation. So that my vacations are paid for. When I go do it, I already have the money. Same with the auto insurance. I mentioned in the video that I pay my car insurance once a year. So I just basically save and I get a bigger discount by doing that. They discount my insurance rate more for paying the whole thing at once. So it's a discipline that you develop over time, and then once you get ahead, it's very nice. Sometimes, for example, I have another fund for emergencies, right? So if the car breaks down, I don't have to think about, oh, where am I going to pull the money from to pay for the car fix? I already know that I have some money that I put aside. Oh, I'm going to use my emergency fund to pay for that. And there it is. And then I replenish it later after it gets used. Yeah.
Oh, I could ask you so many questions, but we're running out of time. If people want to find more resources, what websites or places should they go?
Yeah, I'll give you a couple, particularly for the people that need to look for unemployment benefits or state benefits. We'll mention it. I don't know how easy it's going to be to type it or whatever or show it there. But there's one website that is called covid19.ca.gov. And that's one where the state of California has resources specifically related to the COVID-19. They have different links in there. There's a page for financial help, and that one is covid19.ca.gov /get-financial-help. So if you go there, then it gives you some of the financial resources. And then for the state unemployment, there's another one called unemployment.edd.ca.gov/guide/benefits.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, the good thing is we have this recorded, so people can pause and write it down later.
Okay.
Someone was wondering if that envelopes was also free, or do you have to pay for that?
When I got it a number of years ago. They used to have a lifetime subscription. So actually I just paid that, and then I haven't had to pay that ever since. I think today they may have a little bit of a price, if you buy some of those financial programs, usually they charge you like $50 or $30. I think envelopes may have transitioned into something like that maybe you pay a little bit of a fee. But to me, it's well worth the money in terms of the way it helps you manage your money. For me, it's a very simple way. I could say, oh, go to Quicken, but Quicken is a very complicated program for a lot of people. I think envelopes is simple. You see the graphical envelopes, you move money, you see a balance. It's easy to use.
All right. Yeah. Well, Orville, can I pray for you and all of our finances right now?
Yes, absolutely. Let's do that. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Yes, it's nice talking to you.
Same here.
Let's pray. God, I thank you so much for Orville and the expertise that he has shared with us. And some of us might be feeling overwhelmed and even convicted of how we're spending our money right now. And I pray, Lord, that you would help us to make the choices that we need, maybe even cut out the things that we need to cut out, so that we can honor you and be good stewards of the money and the resources that you've given us. And give us wisdom on how to spend our money well and how to keep it if we need to keep it, Lord. And I pray for our conference. I pray for our world, honestly, Lord. There's so many people who have lost jobs. There's so many people who are in financial struggle and feeling discouraged, Lord. I pray that you would give them hope, that you would give them direction. And Lord, as your word says, you provide our every need. And so I ask for your provision and I ask for your protection. And may we, those of us who might have a little money to give, that we'll be able to help those in need and find joy in that. May we be cheerful givers, Lord. And so I pray that you would lead and guide us. And we thank you, God, that you are before us and that you are in control and that Help us to trust in you through this time. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you. I have prizes now to share. I'm not going to tell you what we bought, so you don't have to know, treasurer, but let me share the prize winners now. For those of you who don't know, if you're a prize winner and I say your name, for those of you who have just joined us today, you have to click on this link that Pono is going to put below us so that we have your information so we can mail you your prize. So we have masks that have our One House logo. I don't know if you can see it. My lighting's not so good here, but it has our One House logo on it. And we're going to mail those to you. So the first winner is Elizabeth Gameo Avila, Chris Orberg, I believe that's Pastor Chris, isn't it? Meli Gazagan Badar, again, I'm sorry if I say your name wrong. Melissa Malou, Chris Bedoya, and the mask, those are the mask winners. There's a hat, and the hat winner is Big Boy Blue on YouTube. Big Boy Blue on YouTube. So if you are a prize winner, please be sure to subscribe to the survey link. I don't know if it's there, but if it is, that's where you need to go so that we can send it to you. Just so you guys know, if you missed any previous days, we have it on our YouTube channel. So please be sure, check it out, subscribe, share with other people. Tomorrow night is going to be an amazing evening. We have worship, art, music. It's going to be amazing. So please join us tomorrow night at, I believe, 5:50 here on your YouTube and on Facebook Live. And then Saturday is going to be even more awesome. We have Pastor Sam Lenore, we have Great Praise, and we have an interesting, amazing panel that's going to happen. So please be sure to join us. I love you, fam. I hope you enjoyed this evening. If you have any more questions, please feel free to let us know. And I forgot to ask Orville about this, but I know that we have a special relief fund just for people going through COVID troubles right now. So if you want to give to that, you can go on eAdventist for the Southern California Conference. There's a special spot just for that group. And that's our service project this time for One House. Is if you like to give money, that's what we are encouraging you to help people who are in need, because we all need to stick together. We all need to support each other. And if you have that ability, we really, and I know they would greatly appreciate it. So think about it, pray about it, and we can help you with that if you need more information in that regard. So love you, family. Hope you have a great evening, and see you tomorrow.